All of the food we eat and much of the clothing we wear comes from plants and animals that are raised on farms. Farms are different in type, in size, and even in name.
Welcome to Barn Talk. What happens at the barn stays in the barn, but not today. We're going to let it all out for you guys. Today is going to be a Barn Talk Hot Topics episode, and we got one really steaming hot topic that we're going to go through today, and we're probably going to focus on today. But before we get into it, you guys know the drill. Share the show with people that you know. The more that you guys do that, the more that this show grows. So if you get any value, we make you laugh, you can relate to us on something, anything like that, share the show. Share it out with the people that you know, because that's how this show grows. That's how word of mouth is the best way to grow a podcast. And it's been working out so far. Also, feel free to leave a review on Spotify or Apple. We're up to 2.5 thousand 5-star Spotify reviews, and we're up to 1.1 on Apple. Thank you guys to all that do that. That really helps our show gain credibility, helps us get better guests on, more guests on, and just ultimately makes our show grow even more. So thank you to people that do that. Last thing you can do to support Barn Talk is you can head over to our direct-to-consumer meat business. We got Wagyu on there. We got pasture-raised chicken on there. We got pork that we raise from our farm on there. We're going to have some beef, some Black Angus beef on there. Father's Day is coming up. So if you want to treat your pops with a steak or a pork butt, or you're going to grill out with them, we'd ask if you just go over to Farmer Grade, you can save 10% off on your next order using code BARNTALK. So we appreciate all your guys' support. We got a hot market update that Tork's going to run through here before we get into the hot steaming topic.
Sorry, I was just thinking about what I was going to cook for Father's Day. Probably a pork butt.
Pork butt, brisket, steaks. There's a lot.
I would like to do a Wagyu.
Big Iowa chop.
Hey, I had one of the new thick cut Iowa pork chops, Farmer Grade, and I'm telling you what, it
came out pretty good.
It was fire.
Yeah,
it was straight fire. Market update is going to be short and sweet today because one, there's not much going on, and two, we just want to get right into what everybody's thinking about. Corn down, everything's down a little bit. This weather. It's supposed to be cooler than normal. We're getting ready to head to the World Pork Expo, and usually during that time, it's blazing hot, which is good if all you want to do is sit in a tent with the meat sweats, trying to drown your sorrows in the hog business, but it's going to be actually pretty nice up there. And so the corn, what do they call it? The quality of the crop is probably going to be excellent for the corn that's up because the weather is going to be cool. Nothing's going to get burned up. And there isn't as much replant as they thought. Corn, 442. Beans, 1177. So you go back a week ago, I think beans were 12, I don't know, like 1210 or something like that. So it's cooled off some. Wheat, 663. Bean meal, 368 a ton. Hog market, 93.50. We're kind of just stuck in a trading range on that. Cattle are not stuck. The cattle market is crazy. 183 on fat cattle, and feeder cattle 257. So
better buy some.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, if you're a cow-calf guy and you're thinking about finishing out your feeder cattle, pretty hard to decide to put more money in them when you can get that bid to sell them. But if you're the feedlot guy and you're looking at that number, holy cow, by the time you throw that in on the start and then feed that calf out, you're going to have a lot of money tied up in that sucker. This cattle market better stay good for the guys that are feeding them out. I don't know. I don't think I can.
Well, it's been good for a while, so they've definitely been making money, but how long can it stay good? That's the question. That's the $1 million question everybody's trying to figure out.
Yeah, because your input, the feeder cattle price is moved up, and is the fat cattle price going to move up enough to cover that? And then depending on the crop plays into that. So if it looks like we're going to have a crop and they keep beating this market down, you could hedge your corn out. Yeah, you might be able to make some money, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to go build me a cattle confinement lot. So, crude oil down. World Economic Outlook kind of gave the oil market the jitters, so it's down. It was in the 80s last week, 73.15. Bitcoin still hasn't broke 70,000 or stayed there, 69.5. However, if things don't go right on what we're talking about, I bet you Bitcoin hits all-time new high after all-time new high, but that's just me. Tesla, 176, gold, 23.50, silver, $27. Hey, the markets don't matter because if our political system keeps going the way it's headed, nothing's going to be worth a crap. How do you like that for a tie-in?
I love that tie-in. So we're going to hit on the most hot topic around the United States right now, and honestly, maybe the world.
It's not Caitlin Clark getting checked.
No, it's not Caitlin Clark getting checked, which I'll just say I just have never in my life seen a great player that's bringing all these eyeballs to a league. It's like bullying the shit out of LeBron James or Michael Jordan when they come into the league. Love them or hate them, they're good for your league. Yep. So why are you jealous and why are you beating the shit out of her and why are you doing all the stuff that they're doing to her? I don't understand it. I think at the end of the day, girls are just a little more jealous.
Mean.
And they just, they don't like that shit.
Mean.
They do not like Caitlin Clark, and it's a sad lick because she's doing a lot for their league. She's an exciting player to watch. Shit, I didn't watch women's basketball till her. I haven't checked into a WNBA game, but I was watching college basketball, women's college basketball because of her. And I think that's transitioning into the WNBA, but man,
I don't think they like. I think there's a lot of people in the league. I get the feeling that don't like a lot of these really talented rookies.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this last senior class that came in, so Caitlin put the spotlight on, and all those star players outside of Caitlin also got some shine.
Yeah,
and so they all came in, and I've seen clips of, on the bench footage of them like excluding a rookie or like the rookie put her hand on another player's thigh, like listening to the coach. She was leaning over and she like swiped her hand away. She's like, "Get your hand off me." Like just like petty. Weird shit like that. It's petty. Like, why are you hating so bad? But I don't know. It just blows my mind. They've wanted this so bad. They've wanted all these eyeballs to the WNBA. Then you get the people that are bringing the eyeballs, and everybody that's already in the league is just resentful and is pissed off and taking it out on the players. You should take it out. If you're going to be pissed at anybody, take it out on the people that haven't. If you're mad about how you couldn't bring the eyeballs, be mad at the people that didn't watch it. Don't be mad at the people that are bringing you the attention that you've been craving.
Well, there's plenty of people talking about it. Holy cow, you can't. There is no sports pundit that's not talking about it, so it's all going to get well covered. But
we don't need to cover it today.
That's not what we're here for.
No, I know you kind of threw me a softball pitch there, and I just had to fucking hit
we're
it.
Iowans.
I had to hit it, but we won't stay on that one long. So the paradox of Trump, that's what we got. That's what our title of this hot topic is today. And there is a lot to be covered here. Obviously, Donald Trump was convicted of 34 counts of...
34 or 37? Was it 34?
I think it's 34.
But all of them, every count.
34 counts. Guilty on all 34 counts. He's considered a felon now. And be looking out on that word because I guarantee you, the mainstream media, Joe Biden, when he debates Donald Trump, take a shot every time Joe Biden says convicted felon in that debate, and you're going to be fucking hammered by the end of that debate. I guarantee this is the new wordplay. This is the new wordplay that they're going to use for Donald Trump is convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon.
That sounds like a great, we don't ever do lives. Maybe we should do that. We'll do
I think we should try to figure it out on election night.
And then, maybe.
I think it'd be dope to do an election night live stream podcast. I don't know if our cameras could stay on that long, but just drink our whiskey and watch whatever happens. Either drink our sorrows or celebrate, one of the two.
Yeah.
Anyway, you go. Just go a little bit.
Well, it's such a weird time in our culture and in politics because on one hand, the media, they love this. They love it. I mean, they all claim that it's terrible. This is a terrible time in America, but the best thing that's happened to your cable news networks is Trump. And they will do anything to keep him in the news cycle. And this trial, which, I mean, let's face it, if we're really honest with ourselves, I don't think anybody
people
thought that he was going to beat this. I don't, because I think the narrative, I think the die was cast. We were talking about this off air, and I mean, is there any? I don't think that the left in this country can. There is no scenario that they're gonna allow where he actually ends up on the ballot or actually ends up elected. And as crazy as that sounds, I mean, I just look at this verdict and a lot of people, well, I don't know how surprised people were, because I'm like, it doesn't change my opinion. It doesn't change who I'm going to vote for. But I just look at it and say, well, of course that's what's going to happen, because go through the list of stuff that they made out of this. So all these counts, explain to me the difference in what Bill Clinton did or Barack Obama did or any of these other people did, and how this is a felony and how it's a campaign finance.
Yeah, what they said it was is he miscategorized an expense. So he should have paid Stormy Daniels out of his campaign fund, but he paid it personally. And that's what they claim is a felony. When anytime any other politician has accidentally mislabeled or they didn't do it accidentally, they did it on purpose, they mislabeled or miscategorized an expense, it's a slap on the wrist, a fine misdemeanor. That's what it is. There's been a multitude of politicians that have done that. And in the state of New York, those same situations have happened, and it's been just a slap on the wrist misdemeanor. But they have obviously done everything that they could do to, I mean, I've heard that they changed the statute of limitations for 1 year, and they, what he was convicted on would be a misdemeanor for anybody else, but since it's Trump, we're going to turn it into a felony. And that the judge had donated to the Joe Biden campaign, and that his daughter is a flaming liberal, and that the jury is made up of a lot of liberals, and that they're in the most liberal city, arguably in America, that this trial happens. You listen to all those things, and you sit back, and you just go, yeah, I don't really know. That doesn't seem like a very fair trial, and it does seem like it's a witch hunt. And if you kind of dig a little bit and you really do look at who's the judge, who's the jury, what's their political affiliation, where is this being held at, what is he actually getting charged on, what actually happened to get him to become a felon, and you do some research, you'll realize it's a flat-out witch hunt. What he has done is nothing different than what other politicians have done in the past. Miscategorized a business expense and paid it out of his personal pocket rather than the campaign. That's what it is. And so I wasn't surprised by the verdict either. It's really scary and concerning. And the reason why it's scary and concerning is when that came out, it really, I think, took the wind out of a lot of American sails. Not because they didn't expect that to happen, that verdict to go the way that it did, but just that here we are in America. The opposite political party is doing everything that they can to bring down the man that's running against them. Mm-hmm. And they're going to do anything that they can do to make it so that he cannot run against them. Because, let's be honest, they're fucking scared of him. They're scared of him. And when you think about that, that is legitimately some communist shit. That is some third world country bullshit that happens and plays out. We've had a potential 2020 election that people don't know if it's rigged or it was rigged. You know, everybody's debating on that if it was or wasn't. The fact that we even have to think that the election might have been rigged, and then you have this, the justice system is up for debate if it's rigged or if it's for the people or if it's fair. I mean, those are pivotal parts to our freedoms as Americans. That is what gives us our rights. Justice system's supposed to not be affiliated, not be biased, not to be bought and paid for, to be for the people and be fair. Elections are supposed to be fair. They're supposed to give us the chance to say our piece, say who we think should be president or who should be in Congress or whatever. Both of those things are up for debate if they're fair. And that is a scary, scary fucking thing. And that is what people should not be looking at this as, yeah, it's worrisome that, you know, Donald Trump might not run and we might get Sleepy Joe back in the fucking White House again, shitting his pants and not knowing where the fuck he's at and leaning off the teleprompter wrong. But the scariest thing about this is if they can do this to Donald Trump, they can do this to anyone. They can do this to any American that they see fit. They can rig a fucking a judge. They can rig a jury. They can rig the justice system to whatever they see fit.
And I think that's the point that is very intriguing to me, because I am sure that the political class in this country, are by far very out of touch with ordinary Americans, I don't think they gave any thought to this as far as the repercussions among Trump's popularity or to his popularity, because Trump has now, I feel like, kind of hit another gear with his connection to the culture, and there are an awful lot of people in this country that normally would not be interested in Trump. However, they have experiences in their life or within their family that has made them very disenfranchised with our judicial system, and they're very leery of getting a fair shake when it comes to the legal system. And now then you have Trump, who has been treated the way he's been treated, and all of these people who normally probably wouldn't spend the time to vote because they don't have a lot of faith in the judicial system or the political system, because they feel like the politicians have used them. Well, now then, those people see themselves, they look at Trump and they say, well, he's one of us. If he can't get a fair shake, nobody can. We got to change this, and he's the only guy that can do it.
And he's the one that's saying that he's going to.
His place within the culture, compared to any other politician that I know of in modern history, I think that what has happened with this verdict,
it's backfired tremendously.
Is actually a huge misstep for the political class, because I believe that the number of people that not only whether they would or wouldn't vote for him, but people who normally don't ever vote, people that are disenfranchised, like I said, that probably haven't voted in past elections, that now see this as somebody that connects with them, somebody that represents them, somebody that is an outsider. Even though he was president, he is viewed as an outsider. They're excited. They're motivated now to go to the polls and cast a vote for that guy. And you can see it in when that verdict came out, his fundraising. How much money has he fundraised in the last
3 days? Like 200 million. I think the first day it was 30 plus million. Second day it got to like 70 million. And then I think 3 days it's been 200 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, and out of that 200 million, $70 million of that has been from donations $200 or less.
I think so. I think that's what it was.
And there isn't any good data on how many people.
Yeah, that's really what I want to know. I wanted to know how many people actually donated, because those are voters. That you want to know how many people that is, because I want to know how many voters that is. But, I didn't donate, call me a hypocrite, whatever. I didn't donate, but I'm still voting for Trump. I mean, I am endorsing Donald Trump. I don't give a fuck. That is the man. And to what you were saying, the culture thing. This dude, I mean, we said it on this podcast so many times every time we talk about Trump. The more that the establishment wants, the more that they push and tell us and work against this man to try to not get him on the ballot, and are doing everything that they can to not let him run to become the United States president again, it just makes me want to vote for him even more, because it makes me think you are scared to death of this man getting in office and taking all the shit that you have done that is worse in this country and reversing it. That's what it makes me think. You are scared to death that he's going to come in here and actually do right by the American people, because obviously the last 3.5 years has showed us that they give no fucks about us. They have not done one goddamn thing to help us as American people. They don't fix the border. They don't do anything about inflation. Hell, they print more money. They send more money overseas. They're not doing a fucking thing. They're not listening to American people, and they're not helping us in any way. Under Trump, you talk to most Americans, people were thriving. Foreign policy, we were good. Our border, it was better than where it is now. We were in good shape. Most Americans felt pretty good about America under Trump. And everything that comes out of that dude's mouth, if you even look back at interviews in the 1980s before he even was thinking about politics, you could tell that dude loves Americans. He loves America. He's loved America even in interviews back in the 80s when he would go on talk shows, was a public figure before he was ever a politician. The dude loves America. And everything he talks about draining the swamp and fixing the war and fixing the border and getting rid of all this crazy shit and helping our economy and getting back onto being a thriving country, fuck yeah, they don't want that, because I believe, I don't know about you guys, but the track record since Biden's gotten in office, he hasn't shown me one goddamn thing that he's done for the American people that's beneficial, and it's for us, for the American people.
More jobs than any other president in history.
Yeah, I could do that if I got in office and fucking right after COVID, after you lost however millions of jobs, and then, okay, COVID's gone now. Well,
they didn't say that.
Well, that's the reason. I mean, pretty obvious.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, Mr. Obvious.
Yeah, they use that all the time, that talking point. Oh, he's creating the most jobs. Well, no shit. You just came off a pandemic, dude. It's pretty fucking easy to do that. But I don't know, guys. I think, go ahead.
Trump is, his ability to insert himself into the culture and be relatable is just like no other politician has been able to do that to the level. The footage of him attending the UFC fight.
Yep.
I mean,
the place goes nuts. The place goes absolutely nuts.
Now, granted, that is his audience. Those are his people. Oh, while I'm talking about that,
I don't know, though. UFC, I mean, yeah, it's probably mostly men, but I mean, fuck, it's not like they're having those fights in rural America.
Yeah.
It's happening in LA and in Miami and fucking,
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening in major cities.
Yeah. Well, here's something I just think is really interesting, and then we'll get on to the rest of this. But I've seen this happen now probably 3 times, and I'll give you a really good example. I think it was Tucker Carlson was interviewing John Daly, and he just asked him who he was voting for, and Daly says, "Oh, Trump, 100%." And Tucker's like, he was like, "Really?" He's like, "Oh yeah, definitely." And he goes, "How is your view compared to other people on the tour?" He goes, "Oh, everybody." He goes, every professional golf player that I know is going to vote for Trump." He goes, nobody likes Biden. And I can't remember what the other interview I saw. It was not Tucker Carlson, was interviewing another sports person, and I cannot remember who it was, but they asked him the same question, and they said, "Oh, Trump. Everybody's going to vote for Trump." And the interviewer in that one, they were just like taken aback. And we see it over and over, and like CNN or MSNBC, they desperately try to go find groups of voters that are all in on Biden. And they love to go try to find minorities. And it's getting harder and harder for them to find any. There was an MSNBC story, and I don't remember where they were. I wanted to say they were in Atlanta, but I'm not sure for sure. It was somewhere in the South, and they asked a group of voters about who they're voting for, and it was unanimously Trump. And the look on the reporter's face was just, they're visibly distraught because they're having a really hard time keeping this narrative going. And I don't think any time in history, well, I shouldn't say this, but in the modern age, Trump is without a doubt the most, he has been able to be more relatable to a broader group of people than any politician that I've ever seen.
Yep, it's true. It is 100% true. Yeah, now, what do you want to? Where did you want to go?
Well, so I think we've spent enough time talking about the court case and the outcome because it doesn't really change anything. But I wanted to devote at least part of our time, if you're done with your points or not, just shut me off. But where do we go from here?
Well, I think the problem is this is not the time. This whole idea that conservatives and middle of the road Americans that are the silent majority needs to speak the fuck up. This is not the time to continue to be called the silent majority. This is not the time. It's time to make voting for Donald Trump cool again. It's time to say, yeah, I'm voting for Trump and standing on that shit and not being unapologetic about it. I'm voting for fucking Donald Trump. Because what we got is shit. We have a fucking elderly fuck in our office. It's the commander-in-chief that should be in a goddamn nursing home running this country, and he's running it like shit. And I'm going to be unapologetic about it. That dude has no business being the president of our fucking country. I don't care. It's an embarrassment. It is an absolute embarrassment to have that dude be the commander-in-chief of our fucking country. And I guarantee you, if we can keep this country afloat and keep her going, our kids are going to look back on this time and go, he was your president. Like that dude was your president during that time. If I can just imagine, they're going to be mind blown. The idea that we had a president that can't read a teleprompter, that walks off wandering around, memes being made about the guy, memes being made about the president not being able to speak a coherent sentence. I mean, it is like, I feel like Americans, we've just become numb to it. Like, we're just numb to the fact that our president is an elderly, not there. Why are we so numb to this fact? The dude has no business being our president. Hands down. And what he's done, what has he done? Not a damn thing. So this idea that we need to be the silent majority, that needs to stop. You need to speak your mind. You need to say who you're going to vote for and stand on that shit. That is why we get on this podcast and talk about this. People get on our ass for talking about politics. We probably lose fucking tens of thousands of dollars in sponsorship money because we talk about politics on this podcast, but we don't give a shit because at the end of the day, our country's at fucking stake. I mean, be honest, it is. I truly believe this is the most important election in a long time. And if the establishment and the left and this agenda that they're pushing and continue to go down, if they get another 4 years, who knows what can happen? Who knows what other rights we're going to give up? Who knows? We have got to stand up for ourselves. We have got to stand up for Americans. We got to stand up for our values. And I don't believe Joe Biden is that. I don't believe the left where they stand right now and what they believe is that. It's not for Americans. They are going closer and closer to socialism by the day. And I ultimately believe that's their goal. Tell me if I'm wrong, but the shit that they just continue to push and push and push and push and push, it just keeps going further and further towards that direction. And we have got to finally say, fuck you. We're done with that shit. We're standing on our business. We're voting for Donald Trump because he's for the people. And do it. And do it. Because if we don't, I don't know where it could be, but it's not going to be good. And I genuinely fear for the future of our country. I genuinely fear. It is insane to me that we allowed COVID-19 to completely destroy our lives for however many years, destroy businesses, destroy the middle class, destroy small business owners, destroy our kids' mental health. Nobody's been held accountable for that bullshit. People, news anchors, Fauci, people pushing down our throat that if you don't get the vaccine, you're a fucking piece of shit human. You're the one spreading the virus, which just came out and is absolute bullshit. I mean, where's the repercussions on that? What about Jeffrey Epstein's fucking client list? No repercussions there. Nobody's getting charged with that. We got the election. We got the Clintons. We got all this shit of all these politicians and all this crazy shit that's gone on that nobody's been held accountable before. But we have a fucking president that speaks his mind, that wants to do right by the American people, that when he was in office was putting American first and most Americans were thriving. He gets what would most likely be a misdemeanor for any other politician gets turned into a fucking felony because you don't want him to run because you're scared to death of him. And he's being held accountable. He's getting charged. If that doesn't scream corruption, I don't know what does. I don't know what does. So we got to fucking stand up. We got to speak our mind. We got to stand on business, and we got to vote for fucking Trump. That's what we need to do. Because if we don't, shit's going to go south. And I don't know where it ends up, but it ain't going to be fucking good. That's my intuition. I could be wrong, but if you look past 3 years, tell me where we're going. Do you think we're going closer to land or closer off the fucking cliff? I think closer off the fucking cliff. So that's my mind. Woo! I'm passionate about this. I get pissed because it genuinely makes me concerned. I'm going to have kids. You're going to have grandkids. I'm bringing kids into this world. I'm 24. It's coming up. I'm getting married next year. Babies are going to start coming. I want my kids to grow up in the America that I grew up. I want them to have the same rights and opportunities that I had, that you had. I mean, arguably the 80s was better than where we're at now.
Best ever.
It was. Yeah, I mean, it was. I will agree. But I genuinely fear that might not be a possibility if we keep going the direction that we're going.
Okay.
So
Let's talk about that.
yeah.
Because I think that a lot of people who are going to vote for Trump, a lot of people who are going to vote against what we currently have this idea and have had this idea from the time Joe Biden was sworn into office that, okay, if we can just get through the next 4 years, then we're gonna switch this pendulum's gonna swing back, and we're gonna get common sense back in here, and everything's gonna be all right.
And that remember when people voted Biden in, it was
the United.
Oh, he's the worst. At least he's not AOC. At least he's not Bernie Sanders. You know, at least he's a middle of the road Democrat. He's not going to ruff the feathers too much.
He was going to be the uniter.
Shit. Yeah, he's going to be the uniter. Bullshit.
So, I want it.
And let's be real. That dude isn't running the country. If we're being honest, that fucking dude doesn't make a goddamn decision. Period. That dude ain't making decisions, and that's the scariest thing. You think that elderly fuck that shits his pants and has to take uppers and downers all day long and can't read a teleprompter right and can't form coherent sentences and wanders around is making the decisions? Hell no, he's not making the decisions. It's the establishment. It's his office. It's the people that are behind him that are making the decisions, and that's the scariest part. Anyway, go ahead. That's why he's not the uniter. That's why he's not the guy that was supposed to not ruff any feathers, because he's not doing it. Yeah. He ain't making the decisions.
Yeah.
Pretty clear that dude can't make a good decision.
Yes.
He's a fucking old dude that should be in a retirement home.
I think we've established where you fall on this.
Yeah, I'm being unapologetic. I don't give a shit. It's time to stop being quiet about it. I don't give a shit. I'm voting for Donald Trump. Hate me, love me, I don't give a shit.
Okay, what I want to talk about is, as I said earlier, I think, for me, I have come to the realization that the political system that we have today and the people that are running it will go to any length possible to make sure that there is not a change in this country, that their position within government and all of the people that are part of the machine, so the people that aren't elected, the people that have a job within the government, there's 4 million government employees that if the Biden administration is voted out of office, all of these government employees, none of those change. And there is a lot of them that have been there a really long time, and they'll be there long after Biden is gone. And the problems that we have in this country are not going to change even if Donald Trump is elected. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that he can do, and there's a lot of things he's going to try to do. But those people in power are going to do everything they can to roadblock him and to stop anything that he tries to do. That said, the establishment is going to do everything they can to not let this happen. And I guess what I want to say to all of you is, you all need to take off your optimism. You take off your optimism and be real for a minute and just think about, how will your life, how will your business, how will your community look after another 4 years of what we have? And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What changes are you going to make if you're sitting at home on election night and Donald Trump isn't on the ballot? Because that would be their first best, that is their goal. That is their number one best outcome.
I'm writing that motherfucker's name on the ballot.
Is that he's not on the ballot.
I'm going to write it. I don't care.
or he's on the ballot, and through some miracle, Joe Biden gets way more votes than what everybody thinks, and he doesn't win. Okay, we can all say, shit's going to hit the fan, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. But I think you have to be the change that you want to see. And people that say, if this gets worse or this happens, I'm moving, or I'm gonna quit my job and get out of here, or I need to get my finances in order, or I need to learn how to do whatever. You better get that going now. And I'm going to tell you a story. And I'm going to tell it as quick as I can. And some of you may have remembered me quoting this before. There is a guy, his name is Sam Zell. And he passed away last year. And he was a real estate investor. And very successful real estate investor. And also very good at looking at markets and looking at politics and watching how the world works and
making decisions
based on what he thought was going to happen, and he stuck with his intuition. And the only reason I tell you that is because in 2000, so he made an incredible fortune in his lifetime investing in distressed properties. So he did a lot of research, and he would find properties that basically nobody wanted, and he could see value there, and he would buy them, and then he would turn around. Either the market would change, or he would find the right buyer, or he would operate it himself, and he would make that distressed property profitable. And one of the things that he liked to buy was malls and commercial real estate and stuff like that. Well, in 2007, he sold his entire real estate portfolio for $93 billion to BlackRock. 3 years later,
$39 billion.
Oh, 39, yeah, $39 billion. I think that's right. I can't remember. It might be $93 billion. I can't remember if I transposed that or not. A shitload of money. He sold it to BlackRock. This is in 2007. Do you remember what happened in 2008? 3 years later, somebody valued what he sold them at like a third of what they paid for it. He smiled all the way to the bank. But I watched an interview with him on Real Vision about 2 years ago. And he told the story of his grandfather. And Sam was Jewish, grew up, and his family's from Poland. His grandfather was the only one out of his family that looked at what was happening in Germany in the late 30s, and he left. He took his wife, and I think he had one child at the time, and he left Poland, and he literally left on the last train going east, and they actually went to Russia because they couldn't go west, or I'm sorry, they couldn't go to Europe, but they could go to Russia. They went to Russia, and they traveled all the way across Russia, and they ended up getting to Japan, and from Japan, they immigrated to the United States before World War II broke out. But very shortly after he left, the Germans invaded Poland. And I can't remember this exactly, but I think that out of his family, his brothers and sisters and his parents, I think he's the only one out of his family that survived. And he always talks about that, he didn't know his grandfather, but that idea of looking at a situation and believing in your view and believing in doing your due diligence and doing what you know is in your heart, even though everybody around you is saying, oh, yeah, that'll never happen. That really has stuck with me because, and I asked this question to my family, I'm like, okay, at every step of the way of our country changing, our politics changing, the government becoming more hostile to religion and controlling what is being taught in our schools and indoctrinating our children and
what the media tells us,
not being representative of the voters, of the people. All these steps, all of us that have our own business, all of our people that are entrepreneurs, that are optimists, that want a better life, we have this tendency to look at a situation and say, oh, it's going to be all right. No matter what happens, we're going to find a way to prosper. We're going to work within the system we have, and we're going to make a better life. At what point do you look at where we're headed and you say, I can't stop this? I don't know where that's at, but I think for each and every one of us, if we get to election night and the Biden administration is going to have this White House for another 4 years, I think each and every American has to sit down at that point around their kitchen table and say, okay, how many more trains are left that I can ensure that my family and generations of my family to come are going to have the opportunity for a better life, or at least
as good as I had,
or at least freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds, whatever.
The haters are going to say, well, Jesus, Joe Biden's not going to be Hitler and put people in concentration camps. But
I just feel like that it's time. Like for me personally, I have spent a lot of time over probably the last year, but really the last 6 months. And I think about simplifying, and I think about what is really important and what do I really need? What does my family really need to be happy? What do I really need to survive? What can I do to prioritize and work on me and not worry about everything out here? Because in the end, there is no guarantee there's no guarantees that you'll have a tomorrow as far as that goes. And you need to live, and you need to plan to use the gifts that you have, use the talent you have to take care of what's important. And whether that is learning the skill that you've always wanted to learn, take that job that you've always wanted to take, I don't know. The list goes down, but I think we're at an inflection point in our country where,
at the end of the day, America is at stake.
Yep.
This, like, people think that's you might be over dramatic. 10 years ago,
yeah,
even 10 years ago, it was not even close to this polarized and this crazy of ideologies. Wasn't even close. In just 10 years, it has drastically changed. Democrats, people that voted Democrat that were once, I'm a Democrat, are now, like Joe Rogan was a liberal. Flat out. He'll tell you, you listen to his show early on, that dude was left as left can get. He is even like, I am more aligned with the right now because the left is so far gone. They are so far. Their ideologies are so far fucked up and not what this country stands for. Our way of life, what this country stands for, what us as people have grown up to know could be at stake if we continue to go further and further and further down the left's agenda, the establishment's agenda. It has not gotten any better. It has gotten worse, progressively worse, the more that they get in power. And they don't want Donald Trump because it just gets them away from their agenda. It sets them back 4 years. It sets them back 4 years. We need freedom fighters. We need people with American values to stand up for what you believe in. We can no longer just roll over and take this shit. People have rose up for way less than the shit that we go through now. Way less. We have got to get some fucking balls back and stand up for what we believe in. How long are we going to take these taxes? How long are we just going to let politicians continue to do insider trading? How long are we going to let them just send over our tax dollars and then pay themselves back through the military-industrial complex? How long are we going to let them pass bills, then invest in companies that oppose that bill, like the TikTok ban? Guy writes the bill, invests in Meta, passes the bill, makes millions of dollars, and nobody says a fucking thing? Nobody says that. Like, nobody is going to like say that that's wrong and we should probably convict that dude or tell him to get out of Congress. We're just going to let a pandemic happen and they tell us that we got to stay inside and ruin most Americans' people's lives and essentially lie to us. And we're just going to let that go and not hold anybody accountable. How much more are we going to take before we say, fuck you? We're Americans. We're going to stand on what this country has always stood on. And you're trying to take that away from us. You're trying to take that away. It is getting to a point where we have got to stand on our shit. It's like I said, the silent majority thing, we need to stop. Like, we wear that like a badge of honor. Oh, the silent majority. Fuck that. Fuck the silent majority. That is stupid. We need to stand up and say what we believe and say who we're going to vote for and stand on that shit. Because they're the loudest. They get away and they make us all feel like, oh, we can't talk about who we're going to vote for. I'm not going to say that I'm voting for Trump because they've like ingrained in our minds that we should just stay on the right side of caution and we shouldn't rough anybody's feathers. Look where that's got us. It hasn't got us anywhere. It's made our situation worse. It's made our country worse. That shit has got to stop. We have the power. There's way more of us than there are them. We have got to use our power. Like I said, people have rose up for way fucking less than what we are going through now. Way less. It's bullshit. And back to your optimism thing, like I said, we probably lose out on a lot of sponsorships for this show. I probably lose customers for Farmer Grade because my political beliefs and what I say on this podcast. But I don't give a shit because I genuinely believe that what we talk about, it's important to talk about. Being vanilla and not speaking your mind, it hasn't gotten us anywhere good. It's just gotten worse. When I feel like we're going to be on the right side of history or we're going to go down in a fucking blaze of glory. That's where I stand. I'm not going to leave. I'm not leaving this country. I mean, I don't know. Dad's got a good point. That's a great story. But you got to think about, if the left gets power for another 4 years, who knows what can happen? They're willing to have a pandemic go and ruin millions of people's lives. They're willing to potentially, quote unquote, may or may not have rigged an election. They're willing to weaponize the justice system to not allow the opposing candidate to run for fucking political office. Those are all signs of some crazy shit going on, of leveraging their power that they have over us and using it to not our benefit, but for their benefit. I mean, look around. Look around. Use your fucking head. You're going to wake up and shit's going to be fucked and you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Here, I'll
I got one last thing.
Okay.
And the entrepreneurs of the world, I agree. We're optimists. You know, Dad and I are some of the most optimistic people you'll ever meet. We think we can get through it. We can pull our bootstraps up. We're going to get through it. We're optimistic. We're going to solve any problem that comes our way. And I think a lot of business people like to just say, I don't focus on politics. I don't care what's going on. I'm just going to focus on making money in any economy and whether it's left or right. And, you know, I used to really think that. I used to really believe, like, you know what, they're right. And there is some truth there. But it is getting to the point where, yeah, it's great and all. You can do that until they make it so fucking hard and impossible to even run a small business because of all the crazy shit that they have put into the system that you can't even run a business. The freedom to operate is going to be impossible. And then what are you going to do? Then you're going to wake up and you'll be like, man, maybe I should have spoke my mind a little more. Maybe I should have stood up for what I believed in and you know, not just focus solely on business. I mean, you got to look around. Yeah, it's smart to focus your time and energy and control what you can control, but at the same time, you got to know what game you're playing in. You got to look around and say, what landscape am I playing in? What could be coming at me in the future? And politics, unfortunately, is a part of that landscape. That shapes how your business can operate and how much money you make versus how much money you don't make. You got to know what the fuck's going on, and you got to fight, dude. You got to fight for your freedom to operate your business and keep that right. So, I don't know. You could say I'm crazy, Sawyer. You're dramatic, Sawyer. You're too fired up for me. You cuss too much. This is who I am. This is what my passion is. If you brought up politics to me around the fireplace, this is exactly how I talk to you.
I will leave you. Well, I don't know. I'll tell you, when you said that we're living in crazy times, something to remember is the original signers of the Declaration of Independence, those were all felons.
Yep. Because
when they signed the Declaration of Independence, basically that was a death warrant for some of them, and many of them lost. So a lot of them were business owners. They were all for the most part, very successful business owners of the time. And when they signed the Declaration of Independence, that was basically an admission of guilt that they were going to break the law because we were declaring our independence from Britain. And some of them their assets were all seized, so they died broke because their businesses were taken, their assets were taken by England. Some of them were tortured and killed. I don't know the numbers on how many of them survived the war and what happened. I mean, we know the history of a few of them. Actually, we know the history of many of them. We just don't choose to read it. But kind of ironic. I read that story. Somebody posted it. I don't know. Are our times today so much different? Are our circumstances today so much different in the fact that, you know, they were trying to throw off a tyrannical government. It was a foreign government in their situation. But today I feel like we have put ourselves in this situation by complacency, and it's kind of a death of 1,000 cuts. It's a death of 1,000 votes. We have chosen the lesser of two evils for many, many election cycles, and we have gotten away from taking people to Washington that actually know how to do shit and that were business owners. We have gotten away from taking successful individuals and making them our politicians.
And serving our country.
Instead, we have taken individuals and made them successful politicians.
It's became a career path.
And we're reaping the benefits of what we've done. We don't have anybody to blame but ourselves. And at the end of the day, each and every one of us has to answer a question. One, are you going to get out? Are you actually going to go vote? Because the percentage of people in this country that vote is abysmal. So are you going to take responsibility for your right as an American to vote? And two, are you going to accept what we have and say, well, I don't like that guy because he uses harsh words, kind of like you? Or am I going to, am I going to take the safe, take the safe bout or a safe bet? Or am I going to vote for the person that is less offensive? Or am I going to look around and say, well, this isn't working very well, and make a change? And I mean, I don't know. Every single person has to make that decision for themselves. But I agree with Sawyer when we started this. He said this is probably the most important election. I mean, I think this is the most important election of my lifetime. And it's really easy to get discouraged, and it's really easy to feel like that your vote doesn't matter, that you as a person, within the grand scheme of the political world, that you don't matter, but you do, and your voice matters. And like we always say, don't take our word for anything. Do your own research. But so many of us today aren't engaged. We don't do our own research. We don't really know we don't know where we stand. We don't know where we stand because we've been lulled, and we're so busy trying to just feed our family and keep the lights on that we don't pay attention to what's going on. And
that's also our fault. That's also our fault.
That's your fault.
That's complacency. That's what you're talking about.
And that has gotten us where we are, and we can be complacent no more. And each and every one of you has to take responsibility for your vote. You have to take responsibility for your household,
your community,
your
life.
And if we all do that
in our country,
there's a lot of hope out there, but we have to do it.
Yeah, I'd say back to the optimism thing. I am optimistic because I do believe that the people are going to wake up. People are waking up. Trump has indulged himself into the culture, or ingrained himself into the culture more than ever before. This backfired on them. This backfired on the establishment, on the left. Most common sense people can see through the bullshit. And most people can see the fear that they have of electing Donald Trump. They do not want this man to run because it's going to turn around all the bullshit. All the stuff that's making America worse, he's going to turn it around. The other thing about it is, it's like we're electing somebody that's already been there. That when he was there, he did a pretty damn good job. And when he gets back there, he's going to know what to do. It's like taking fucking Tom Brady back to the Super Bowl. The dude was there, 10 times? He won 7 times. Donald Trump's been there before. He knows what he has a better idea what he's getting into now than he did before. He knows what he can do. He knows what he's going to do. And so when he says he can do something, I kind of believe it, because they always talk about when a president first gets elected, they get sat down, they promise all these things to the American people, and then they get in office and they get sat down by all the 3-letter agencies and everybody in behind the scenes, and they say, well, here's the situation on this. You can't actually really do this. This isn't what you're going to be able to do. He's already been through that. He's already gone through that. He already knows. And so I feel optimistic. I feel like we have to do our part. Every single one of you has to stand on your business, stand up for what you believe in, and put yourself, your family, and your community first, and stand up for American values. And ask yourself, how much more are we going to let the establishment continually punch us in the face before we say enough's enough? How long is that going to take? Because here's my fear. If we don't change it now, peacefully, and I'm just being honest, if we can't change how things are going now peacefully with our vote, and it keeps getting progressively worse by the left's agenda, that's where the question marks really come up of what could happen. Because I genuinely don't know what could happen. I see a lot of bad and not a lot of good, to be completely honest with you. So that's why it's do or die now, because I believe we can do what we've always done and maybe even a little bit better. I take that back. We can vote and make the change and get our country back to a good place. We can stand up for what we believe in like we have, and use our freedom of speech to, speak our mind and talk to people and speak to people and vote, and we can make the change for the betterment of our country. I fear if we do not do that now, in 4 years, 8 years, 12 years,
that might not be
enough. It might not be an option.
So Ronald Reagan, a lot of great quotes by Ronald Reagan, one of my favorites. The problem with socialism is you can vote your way in, but you got to shoot your way out.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, you're right. We're at a time where your vote is important at every level. And we talked a few weeks ago about your local elections. All these elections matter. You need to get involved. You need to brush up. You need to know the people that are representing you, and you need to know whether they're worth a shit and whether you can count on them. And if you can't, you need to come up with a different person. You might be that person. And may not be pleasant. It may not be easy, but we need a whole group of people that have not necessarily been in politics to step up and serve their community and their country, because the ones we got aren't worth a shit. So anyway,
yeah,
we could go on, but to tie it all up, we have a very important election coming. You have a huge responsibility. You need to do your research. You need to decide what is important to you. You need to be the best version of yourself that you can be, and you need to stand on your beliefs and not waver.
Yeah.
And
I don't want people to have we come on, obviously we come on this podcast and we're more right-leaning than, we're obviously right-leaning. But at this point, I hate the two-party system. I don't really like it. I am just a pro-American person. I am a pro-freedom person. That is where I'm at. At this point in the ballgame, it's good versus evil. It's for America and the American people and not. That's how I see it. And unfortunately, I believe the Democratic Party is not for the American people, not for the America that has thrived for generations. And the right, there are some rhino Republicans, there are some establishment bot Republicans, no doubt about it. There are some bad eggs in the Republican Party just as much as there are the Democratic Party. But who gives us our greatest hope to keep America, the country that we've all enjoyed and loved, and do right by the American people? Trump and the Republican Party gives us our best option. When I look out right now where we stand, that's where I see it. If the Democratic Party had that, if it was the opposite, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what the fucking title is. I'm not one of these guys that I'm gonna vote Republican my entire life, no matter what the circumstances is, no matter how the people interact inside that party. I am affiliated to the Republican Party forever. Not how I am. But where we stand today, right gives us our best. To me, the right gives us our best option to keep this country and to thrive as American people and to keep our freedoms. So, but no doubt, there's bad people in each one of those parties. So I just, I don't want people to feel like we're fucking MAGA Republicans. We're voting right our entire lives forever, no matter what. Because there are some people out there that they're Democrats and they don't give a shit. It's like a sports team. They are going to vote Democrat or vote Republican their entire life because that is just the way it's been their whole entire life, and they're just going to stay there.
Okay. Hypothetical. If Trump doesn't end up on the ballot, but Kennedy is an option, will you vote Kennedy?
Yes, 1,000% Kennedy.
Yep.
I will not vote for Joe Biden.
Right.
I would, this pains me to say this, Nikki Haley feel like she is the most corrupt. She's a corrupt Republican prospect. Bought and paid for by the military industrial complex, no doubt about it. If anything, she's probably bought by the left to look like she's a Republican, even though she's not. Still would vote for her over Joe Biden.
Yep.
But yeah, Kennedy comes out as an independent. Fuck yeah, I'm voting for Kennedy. Do I love his stance on American agriculture? Hell no. But is he better than Joe Biden? Does he bring better ideas to the table than Joe Biden? Is he against big pharma? Is he against big corrupt tech? Is he for the American people? I genuinely believe he is for the American people. I don't think Joe Biden is. And he has not shown that he is for the American people by his actions. So yeah, fuck yeah, I'd vote for Kennedy. I'd definitely vote for Kennedy. I'd vote for Tulsi Gabbard. I would vote for
Ronald McDonald
before I'd vote for Joe Biden. 1,000%. And yeah, again, the two-party system's stupid to me. I think we should have more independent candidates. I don't think there shouldn't be this right and left. There should be more ideas, but they want to keep it that way because they want to divide us. That's the idea. That's the idea behind it. So at the end of the day, I love my fellow American. I don't care if you're black, you're Asian, you're Mexican, you're gay, you're trans, bisexual, whatever. I don't give a shit. I want America to stay free, and I want us to thrive as a country and stay on the American values that we have known for some time now. But it's just getting out of hand in some regards. It just is. Off the rails. It is. It's getting off the rails. But anyway, I don't want to go any longer. We're kind of beating the dead horse right now. You know,
we don't hurt horses.
Yeah, we don't hurt horses because we
love horses.
I got a fiance that loves horses, so we can't say that. But anyway, guys, just keep your head up, speak your mind, stand on what you believe in, and the time to fight is now. And I don't mean literally, but I mean like this is important. I know your shit's busy in your life. Trust me, we know how busy it can be in life. We feel it every single day. We're busy individuals. But you still got to be in tune with what's going on because at the end of the day, your business, your farm, your family, your house, your lawn is all great until the fabric of America falls and what we stand for falls and our country falls and it goes a completely different way. You're not going to be worrying about your lawn. You're not going to be worrying about your business. You're not going to be worrying about what your house looks like. You're going to be worrying about your future and your family and surviving and thriving. That's what you're going to be worrying about. So, got to stay in tune a little bit and do your part and speak up and set the standard of what an American should be. That's all you can do. So, and go fucking vote. For God's sakes, go vote. Go vote. It's important. This is the most important time in America. In American history right now. This is an important time. This is going to go down in history books. Are you going to be on the right side of history or the wrong side of history? Because eventually the truth does come out. Eventually we do realize what happened to Rome. We do realize what happened to these civilizations that fall. You find out what happened. Historians figure it out. And we're either going to keep her going or we're going to fall, and they're going to know why. So they might write the history books right now. In 50 years, they might say COVID was the best damn thing. But at the end of the day, the truth will come out. They'll realize what transpired or what didn't. So anyway, I'm going to be on the right side of history. I hope they find our hard drive with our Barn Talk episodes buried in the ground 300 years, and they plug it into their wrists and they watch it. Yep. They realize, wow, these guys, man, they're on the right side of history.
Really like selling meat.
Yeah.
We talked about meat a lot.
And they really like this word fuck. I don't know what that is, but anyway. All right, guys. We love you. We appreciate you guys. Keep doing your thing. Keep being great Americans. We'll see you guys here. We'll see you guys back here next week for another episode. Keep your head up. See you later.